Hey, YouTube world, what is up? I hope you are having an amazing day so far. Please subscribe, all the episodes below, all the cool stuff. I'm just going to flap my hands around while I sit inside a closet. So, there's one team from the NFL offseason that has kind of been, people have been saying they may have had a sneaky good offseason. And to be honest, I don't see it just because I don't know at this point. That is the Denver Broncos. Drew Locke, Melvin Gordon, Vic bleeping Fangio, trying to put together a team that can try and compete in the AFC West. Now, some people are saying they've made sneaky good acquisitions. They could be a fascinating story come next season. And I look at them and I think to myself, they might have something, but they did pay Philip Lindsay a contract extension after his incredible 1,000-yard rookie season after going undrafted. They did just pay Melvin Gordon $8 million at the running back position in combination with that. So they're spending a lot of money on their running back, which is already usually a pretty bad combination when you look at what's happening. Now, it's only 2 years, but it's still not a good combination to have. People really love Courtland Sutton. They say he's a true wide receiver one, but I look at him and think, he hasn't done a lot to show yet. He had the great end to last year, but so did Devontae Parker, and it wasn't really indicative of anything that his career would become. It felt like, jumping the gun a little bit to say Courtland Sutton is a definitive number one. Now, they kind of had to move on from Emmanuel Sanders to kind of push the new Broncos, at least the face of the new Broncos, forward. Considering Emmanuel Sanders' contract was up, he was probably going to be on his way out, which ultimately he ended up in New Orleans and playing in the Super Bowl for San Francisco. So getting that value is important, but Denver is trying to push a new team forward. And on defense, they're still very stout. Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, is Chris Harris still there? I'm actually not sure about that one. You look at what they've done defensively. They have a pretty solid defense, a defensive coach in there, which is supposed to breed some kind of, wow, that's a weird way of phrasing it. It's supposed to create some kind of contempt and a stronger foundation on the defense coaching-wise, so that you have a defensive-minded coach coming in. You do have a 61-year-old first-time head coach, which was fascinating in and of itself when they made that hire. Something that I thought was very strange when it happened, but Vic bleeping Fangio proven himself a little bit right now, considering the season they had last year. But ultimately, I think the team is contingent on Drew Locke. Like, as good as Drew Locke is going to be, that's how far that organization is going to go. Now, do we believe that Drew Locke is going to be this great quarterback, takes a big leap in his second year, first full year? They've given him all the confidence in the world, like, you are the quarterback. You're the quarterback for this organization, at least for next year. Is that going to be enough? That's the million-dollar question, because honestly, I have no idea how good Drew Locke is going to be. If I had to guess, I would say he's going to be a fair quarterback. He's going to be a fringe-level starter. He's just might be a fringe tier 3 guy, which like Derek Carr was at one point. Because think about quarterbacks that exceed in college and go on to be second-round draft picks. You're looking at Andy Dalton, Derek Carr, Teddy Bridgewater as the most prominent examples. Like, there's a reason these guys fall into the second round. It's because a team doesn't feel good enough about drafting them in the first round. And this is not just a team. This is all organizations don't feel confident enough to take that dude with their first round pick, which means they want him for the value, which means they see him as a piece that could be a good backup, but not so much someone who can lead the organization forward. The million-dollar question revolves around Drew Locke and what that situation is going to look like going forward. Now, do I believe it's going to happen next year? No, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible. The Broncos, Drew Locke could be really good. I honestly have no clue at this point. I lean towards he's probably the peak as like a tier 3 guy, like a Derek Carr, like a Kirk Cousins, like a maybe at the best, you're looking at like a gunslinging quarterback, kind of like a Carson Wentz, but maybe not as uniquely gifted as Carson Wentz, where Wentz can feed the ball into little passing windows. and we don't really know what Drew Locke's capabilities are. We do know that he held the passing record in college and was a second-round pick. The SEC passing record was held by Drew Locke for career yards and single-season yards. Joe Burrow broke his single-season yards record. Joe Burrow went number 1 in the draft. Locke broke the record. He was a second-round pick. What does that say about Drew Locke as a quarterback? And if the team's success is going to be contingent on that, how good can you really feel about the situation? Let's not get too excited about the Broncos at this point because they've made excellent moves. Jarrell Casey, excellent move. Melvin Gordon's a good running back, just not a good value play. And running back position is all about value. That's really the only thing that matters when we talk about running backs is how much value you can get at the position. So acquisitions that make the team better, yes. How much better? I don't think very much given the names of the players I just mentioned. They make you better, but they're not game changers. In combination with a lot of it's contingent on the quarterback play. And when we talk about Courtland Sutton, it's also about Locke boosting Courtland Sutton's ability with his playmaking. We saw Courtland Sutton take a big boost after Drew Locke became the quarterback at the end of the season over Joe Flacco, and part of that may have been Emmanuel Sanders leaving. I like to contribute a part of that to Drew Locke's ability and actually looking to make Sutton a viable part of the offense. Tim Patrick as well. In that same situation, we'll see what the Broncos do with their draft picks here. Whether they shore up the offensive line, whether they go defense again, or whether they add another weapon into the system with the very deep class of running backs. We will talk to Tailgate Bengals about that when we get on later this week. So remember to subscribe to all the podcast episodes below if you want full coverage of all that in their full Take It Easy and Comical Sports library. I'm supposed to be looking over there. Library.